Who cares?
Who cares? I'm with you.
Okay, great. We're live. Oh, cool.
Oh, we're live. All right.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Why don't I see the live thing? Oh, yeah, I do see it. Okay.
You see it? We're good? Okay, good.
Well, welcome back to Happy and Wise, or if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Sharon, and my purpose is guiding us to lead with our wisest voice from within.
And my name is Chris. I'm an emotional intelligence coach here to help you understand your emotions in intuitive, common sense ways so that you can create the life you want and find the happiness that you deserve. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and therefore we are happy and wise. We're
Oh,
here
yeah.
to bring that into your life. So welcome
Yes.
to Happy and Wise with
Hell
Chris.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm excited because today I want to talk about, I want to not beat around the bush. I want to talk about the things that most helped us change our life. Those things that we could look back on and be like, that is one of the key tenets to that helped me make my life easier, happier, better, smoother, nicer, more in tune with myself. And I'm thinking we just like you have such amazing insight that you share in your clubhouse rooms. I have cheat codes that I share in my emails. So I want to kind of just go back and forth this hour and just talk about, and of course, if anyone is watching and wants to contribute to what cheat codes have you found, what wisdom principles have you figured out in your life that have helped you, or if you want to ask a question while we're live, this is your chance. This is our time to do. It's a perfect time to do it, honestly, because we're here and available to answer those. So
that's
feel
true.
free.
Yes, please join us. Either put it in the chat or let us know you'd like to come up with us, and we're happy to invite you. And I think what's so powerful about this is that we all face forks in the road multiple times in our lives, right? And sometimes we take the fork and things don't go well. And sometimes we take a different fork and it's transformative, right? So you're talking about when well, it doesn't even have to be in the fork in the road, right? It can just be something we adopted for ourselves that changed our lives, right? It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a fork in the road.
Absolutely. It could be anything.
Yeah.
It could absolutely be anything.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I'll start with one that I wrote about yesterday because it's been on my mind recently. And that's the idea that when as we continue to change our thinking, our life is naturally going to change. And sometimes the results of changing our beliefs or changing our perspectives or changing our thoughts in positive ways can result in things happening in our life that might seem on the surface to be bad, like, lost jobs or ending friendships or breakups or fallouts of some kind. And on the surface it might seem bad, but sometimes a lot of that is the universe making room for us to live the kind of life that we want. There's people in our life that, in our dream life that we have, they're not there. And so some people will start to fade out or fall away. And sometimes it can feel in the moment like, oh, this is bad. Like, what is all this chaos or this mess or this confusion, or why is this all happening? And we sometimes can let those moments have us fall into negative headspaces where we start blaming ourselves, or nothing ever goes right for me, or like these bad things just keep happening, or what did I do that wrong, or whatever. And it might not be any of that. You might not be doing anything wrong. In fact, it might be you're doing something right. And so I guess the first cheat code I would say is when chaos can kind of pop up in our life along our journey as we're continuing to change and grow into who we really are, to sort of read those moments not as bad things, but as often as you can as helpful ways that you can make the universe and yourself are making space for what your heart really cares
Opportunities,
about.
right?
Opportunities,
The opportunity.
absolutely.
And when you talk about change, because we all face a lot of change in our lives, right? Now we're specifically talking about positive change or identifying things that may at first seem negative as really ultimately positive. I changed the word in the topic from change to transformed because but I want to clarify that with you first. If we look at all the changes that can be positive changes in our life, the ones that are farthest over, like a 10 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, would be the ones that transform us, right? Not just changes that bump things up a notch, but
Mm.
that really catapult us forward. And so, are you thinking about change at that level or any kind of positive change?
I would say any, but like especially the ones that are are the biggest for us.
The
But
biggest. Yeah.
sometimes, as we're going, we can't have a transformative change every single day. Maybe we can. I don't know. Um, but I like the idea of. I mean, I appreciate the little changes too. But as we go on our journey, like we're going as like for people who are consciously, I feel like you're someone who does this. I'm someone who does this. Like every day, we're trying to learn and grow and find better ways to live our life and find ways to make things easier and smoother. Like that's how I like to navigate things. And so I've noticed that the more I do that, sometimes things happen in my life that seem like ugh, but really there are sometimes the need sometimes those things need to happen because I actually don't want that in my life anymore, or I actually want to move on in some way or clear out my time or clear out my space in a way that helps me give get make room for what I actually want my dream life to look like. Do you have any relation to this? Is this resonant to you?
Oh, yeah, I feel like I dwell in that a lot. I used to think, things just happen and you can have a positive attitude, but it doesn't have that big of an impact. And I guess that's one of the things I've realized throughout my life is actually I'm helping to create everything that's happening by how I respond to the events that are unfolding around me, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
magnetizes more positive transformative events when I'm feeling really good, when I'm open, receptive, accepting of what's come my way. That's a doorway, I would say. So, to riff off of you, mine would be moving into acceptance is incredibly
Mm.
powerful. Dropping that resistance that we often have to change,
Mm-hmm.
it immediately relieves a weight we can carry around that we think is from the external thing that's happening that we may have no control over. But
Mm-hmm.
in fact, it's happening because of our response to it. And
Yeah.
I can give you a very recent example from my life, but you,
Please.
you led with saying you had something from your life to share. So I'm wondering if you want to share that first.
Oh,
Didn't
did
you say
I?
that a few minutes
Did I
ago?
say that? I
Okay.
don't know.
And if it's gone right out, then I can go ahead, but it's up to you.
You can. I mean, I think my like go to example for something
Yeah.
like this is like I was in a relationship for 7 years. This was in my 20s and early 30s, and when we decided we mutually broke up, and when that happened, there's a sadness that comes from, especially since
Right.
for us in our case, it was not ugly or bad or toxic. The relationship was not that. It was actually very special and wonderful in a lot of
But can
ways.
I ask why you broke up?
It
I'm
was
just so
just
curious.
it was a compatibility issue. It was
Okay,
a we just were looking for different things ultimately at the end of the day, and
okay,
we loved each other, and we still are friends, but we it just wasn't working as a romantic thing.
yeah.
And so that was a in a way like a painful experience, like having a breakup. It's a whole like life shift. Like I moved out of the place that I lived for so long that I loved. I was like suddenly single and like doing my own thing. It was very jarring in some ways. And so like that's a bit to me that was like a big change, but ultimately it was for the best, and ultimately that's what needed to happen in order for both of us honestly to move on with our life in the way that would be best for each of us. And so it's like things like that, and we can look at moments that are hard or moments that are like really where big shifts happen, and sometimes we can dwell in the negative and find the problematic issues about it or find the hardships in it, but really we are telling our own story. And so if we remember that how we interpret things is how we experience life, and how
But how did you interpret it as from a negative into a positive, and how did it change you?
well, the negative was sort of like seeing it as like, oh, this is really sad, and this is,
Right.
hard on us, and this is like, oh, this is such a, You know, is this the right thing to do? Is this, I care about this
Oh, so
person.
you weren't even sure if it was the right thing to do?
No, we got to the point at the end where it became, and we had a lot of discussions about it very openly
Okay.
with each other. And we went to couples therapy for a long time and tried to figure things out. And then it just
Mm.
came to a point where it just made the most sense, where it was the thing to do. But there's, you know, that process of going through all that, there's this like, this like inner like question in your mind of like, is this the
Sure.
thing to do? Like there's, you're giving, if you do that, you're giving up this and this and this and this, and it's like, do I want to give up this and this and this and this? And so but interpreting it as, well, this is what my, I need to listen to my heart, and I need to follow how I feel and what I'm feeling, and do what's best ultimately for me, and do, because ultimately what's best for me is what's best for him, what's best for him is what's best for me. So there's this sense of I don't know, looking at interpreting moments that can be big shifts in ways that help you, in ways that where you can continue to look ahead, not at the thing itself, not keep looking back at that moment or this current situation, but why are we doing this? Because we're moving in this direction, and now that makes space for us to go in this way, which is really what we want to be doing. So that's sort of like how I like to look at it. It's like we're interpreting all of it. So what's your example that this relates to recently that you've experienced?
Well, I'm happy to share it. I just had one more question, if you don't
Oh
mind,
yeah.
about yours. Yeah. At what point, there's all this sort of heartache about heartbreak, and on some level knowing it's the right decision, but also just wondering if it is. At what point in the process did you say, aha, I've made a life-changing move in a positive direction. It's having a really positive effect on
Hmm.
my life that I made that decision.
I think the I think that actually happened before the breakup. I feel like
Mm.
that was like
Getting
very
clarity
at
that
the
you needed to
very
break up?
end. There was a
That
clarity of like, I think this is the right,
I
yeah, thing.
see.
But it was also very like in the moment. Like we ended up breaking up in our couples therapist's office. Like we
Wow.
broke up in the office with our therapist, which was kind of nice to have that space,
Yeah.
that safe space to like do that. And it was sort of like a, we had been talking about the possibility of that for a while at that point. So it wasn't like a shock or a surprise to either of us, but it just, I don't know, organically came up. But I feel like it was like I mean, it's complicated because it's a combination of like, you have these like sad, like, oh my God, is this really real? Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, it's happening. Like oh, okay. So it's happening. So there's that hit initially, but there's also this sense of peace that comes with it because we knew it was for the best, and we knew that it was what we both ultimately wanted. And
Yeah.
so
So
there
talk
was
a little bit about that, about the feeling of peace and how it registered in your being, because there can be a difference in body sensations, in emotional state, in energetic body, so many ways that can cue us that, or even relaxing a tense body. But did you immediately feel something in the therapist's office shift in your being? And if so, what was it? And
mm,
if later, do you have a recollection of how you knew you
mm,
felt really differently? Because this is like, we might know some part of us up here, right? But it registers throughout our being in these many different ways that we know, or we
mhm.
receive information.
Yeah. It's hard for me to remember because this was back
Yeah.
in, I think, 2018 or 2019.
Okay. It's
But
been a
I
while.
it's been a minute. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
do,
Just curious.
yeah, but I will say, like, I think I had gone years uh without listening to myself, without knowing even how to. And so I was just sort of along for the ride in a lot of ways, with saying yes to things I didn't actually want to do and saying no to things I really did want to do, and
Yeah.
not letting myself. And so once I started, and I include this decision in that framework of like, oh, I need to start listening. This is actually what I want. This is what my heart actually wants. I should listen to that. And there's credence to that. And I really should be following that. And so that felt like that sense of overwhelming peace that can take over, that, when you make a decision and you're like, it was hard in the moment to go through the process of that, because it's so, I don't know, it has so many different variables at play, and it's fresh. It's like a fresh wound in a way, but at
Mhm.
the same time, it's comforting to sit in that peace that I did something. I listened to myself, and I followed my heart. And that's relieving in a lot of ways, because it's suddenly, I'm not ignoring what my inside is saying. Come on, we want to do this. Let's do this. Let's move in this direction. And finally I was like,
Well,
okay,
you were listening.
I was listening. I was
You were really
listening.
listening. So this is a big takeaway, I think, right? When we listen deeply to really
Yes.
what's in our heart instead of overriding it with what our mind says we should do, it's incredible. That alone can be transformative.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, I want to shout out to Yoni, who's in the chat. She
All
says, "Hi Sharon.
right. Yay,
Do
Yoni.
you guys know each other from Clubhouse?"
Oh yeah, Yoni was on last night, as a matter of fact.
Very
Is
cool.
a regular. Yeah, great to have you, Yoni. If you want to come up with us, you're totally welcome too.
Yeah, join us in the room
You
if
can
you
just
want.
put it in the chat if you want to come on with us now,
And if
or
you don't want
let
to
us
do
know.
video, you can do audio as well, or you can just chat with us in the text comments too. All your choice. But we're talking about just things that have changed our life, or transformed us. In what are these big points that sort of we would reflect back on and say, it was doing that. And
Yeah.
listening to yourself is a great one, actually. Listening to your heart.
Yeah, listening to your heart. Okay. So my thing that happened.
Mm.
Okay. So not this last weekend, but the weekend before, I was at a bat mitzvah, which, if you know what that is, it's a rite of passage in Judaism. And I grew up Jewish, but I myself was bat mitzvahed, but I hadn't been to one in many, many years. And I got invited to a close friend's daughter's bat mitzvah. And this is one where you read from the Torah. It's part of a service, a regular Shabbat or Sabbath service. But the 13-year-old is not only reading, but singing. So it's very scary. I remember I was scared to death, to
Mm.
sing
Is there a
and
lot of
read.
memorizing? There's a lot of like preparation that goes
A
into
lot
these,
of
right?
preparation. You work with the cantor, that's the singing part. And then you're reading Hebrew. And I had been going to Hebrew school just like she had. So you know how to read Hebrew, but it's different when you're looking in the Torah, because when you're learning Hebrew, they have these little dashes and dots that tell you the vowels. And in the Torah and in Hebrew, generally, you don't have that. So you have to really know the words. So yeah, there's a lot of
Mm.
preparation that goes into it.
Mhm.
And it was really beautiful. In fact, when I talked to my friend a few days later, a week later, she said it was one of the very best days of her entire life.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm coming off of that. It was super joyful, a lot of
Mm.
singing, and it was just a beautiful experience. And that was in San Francisco. And I'm driving, and that was the day where there were protests all over the country. So I'm driving through San Francisco on the way home, and I'm seeing still people with their signs up. So I'm driving through that. And then I cross the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm going back to my house.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, all of a sudden, I'm involved in a 9-car pileup on the freeway. 9.
What? Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
Are
3
you
cars.
okay? Like, that's my
I'm
first question. Like,
okay. So my like primary takeaway from the whole thing, I'm just going to fast forward, is
mm,
immense gratitude. I feel so fortunate
mm,
because I got sideswiped. So 3 cars were way too jammed up in the fast lane. I was in the next lane over, and all of a sudden, bam, that's like what the car in the other lane, trying to avoid
whoa,
hitting the car in front of it, didn't even have time to look, just moved and bumped me, and I went flying out of control. And
whoa.
between me and my car that has a lot of built-in smart technology, I was able to right the car, and it was heading toward the median. So I was able to stop and not hit the median and not hit any other cars, and no other cars hit me but that one. And then I could see the chain reaction of all these accidents happening behind me. All in all,
Oof.
there were 9 cars, and we were all ended up pulled over. And I don't think anybody was hurt, which is a
Wow. That's
miracle.
crazy. Yeah. Amazing.
Crazy, right? But here's the thing, that side swipe ended up, I'm just in the process of finding out that my car is being totaled.
Oh.
And because if you get past a certain point, they just
It's no return. Yeah.
not
You
worth
just,
fixing it. Yeah.
right, right, right.
And so I now have to get another car pretty quickly and figure that all out and everything. So this was all not stuff that was in my game plan, obviously.
Right.
And I could look at it as sour grapes, this terrible thing happened to me. But instead, I feel like, wow, okay, here's the amazing thing about that. I wasn't hurt, first and foremost, and nobody was hurt. Like
Yes.
I'm just like I'm over the moon about that because people mess
Yes.
up all the time, right? And it was
Yes.
100% another person's fault, but people mess up all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so given everything, I wasn't hurt. And I mean, really not even a little bit. So if I had been rear-ended, it might have been different, right? So I'm totally fine. My airbag didn't even deploy. It was just this quick tap. And I had been looking at my car like, oh, there's some paint missing in this spot. And it bugs me and I want to get it fixed. Should I
Oh,
spend
you
the
had
money?
been before this?
Before that, I had been thinking that.
Uh-huh.
And then I noticed my driver's registration hadn't reached me. And what happened with that? Like I didn't have the proper sticker on my car. And so all this stuff swirling around my car kind of. And even I moved a year and a half ago and it's not possible for me to set up home charging. I have an EV. And so it's a little bit of a pain. I always have to go and charge. And so I've been chatting back and forth with Chat GPT about what I can do to replace it. And it's like, oh, you should get a more performance or long range version of the same vehicle. Like it's talking me through everything. And I'm thinking, God, for my circumstance right now in my life, this change is actually going to bring greater ease to my life. Because in the end, I'm going to choose a car that's going to bring greater ease around my current situation. And the stuff that was bugging me, I don't have to worry about. It just
Oh my
vanished.
God.
Isn't that, it's weird,
That's
right?
yes, because it comes in this weird package. Like you
Yeah,
wouldn't think that these things that kind of solve
weird.
your paint problems and your EV problem, your charging problem, your registration problem, your any other problems that you have with the car, like you wouldn't think that that would come in the package of a 9-car pileup and how that would be good. Like
How would that ever be good? I
how would
know.
that ever be good? But like that is amazing. Like
Okay,
yes,
do you know
it's
what? I just want to tell you about one. I'm going to keep it short because now I'm remembering I had this other car accident in my life that was like the best accident ever. I know that sounds really weird. It was way better than this accident,
uh-huh.
okay?
Okay. If we had to rate them, we would
If we
rate the
have to
other
rate
right.
accidents,
Okay.
I also was not hurt at all. Okay, so I'm living in upstate New York and I have this little tin can of a car and it's snowing out and I really can't see very well. And I pull out of my driveway and I can't tell there's a car coming down. And so I get in an accident and it's this huge, like heavy Chevy that just, doesn't do any damage to that car. And the guy's like, we don't even need to exchange insurance. So there was no issue there, except that on this little tin can car I had, the bumper that used to be lined up straight now was like, went over a foot. So if you imagine the car here and the bumpers like that, it looked really hilarious. In fact, one time these little kids were going to crosswalk, all holding on to each other like they teach them to do. And one of them stopped and pointed and looked at my car and they all stopped in the crosswalk.
Because
They
it
were
was
like,
that weird
"Look at her
looking.
car." I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh yeah, this isn't great.
Yeah.
So fast forward like a year or two. Yeah, I was in grad school for a couple years at, where I was in school in upstate. And another like snow related accident happens where again, nobody's hurt and the person doesn't even want my insurance. Okay.
Hmm.
And I look at my car and that accident pushed the bumper back over
Oh my
perfectly.
God. So it
I was
solved.
like, best accident ever. It fixed
Wow.
my
Like a readjustment, a free readjustment.
a free readjustment.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Is that
You've had
so
some good
weird?
luck with car accidents.
I mean, yeah, it's true because another time I got a job out of it. When also
Really?
nobody was
Gosh,
hurt
Sharon,
and I
you got
got
to
a
get in more
job. And
accidents because this
listen,
is
this is
helping your
kind of
life.
basically all the accidents in my life. I'm not accident prone,
Yeah.
not in
That's
cars
good.
or out of cars, but I've
But
lived a while.
when they do happen, your life changes for the better, which is kind of
I
nice.
apparently so. Like I
Wow.
really wasn't. That wasn't in my mind until I started talking about this latest one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these are the perfect examples of like on the surface, it just feels like bad. It just sounds bad. It just, but
Doesn't it?
seems bad. But sometimes there's real beauty that can come in that. And in your case, like things actually, good things came right from the incident itself, like you're finding. In some cases, for people who are going through something that where those things don't seem visible just yet,
Right.
just remembering that allow when you're making changes in your life, it makes logical sense that the world around you is going to shift too. That people might
Right.
come in your life, come out of your life, that opportunities might come into your life that weren't there before. And sometimes they have to come after. Like I remember we were all kind of bummed when I was working on Queen Latifah's show. We were kind of bummed that it was canceled after I think it was a season and a half. I think we
And
were like
what were you doing? Were you a producer or what
I
was
was
your
an
role?
associate producer on
Associate
Queen
producer. Okay.
Latifah, and I remember like we were in there for the first year, and then I believe we were in season 2, and we finished I think half of that season. So I feel like it was like some like the end of the year, like the year. So it was like November, December or something that the show was ended. And it just felt like on the surface, like this sucks. Like this was like that was my first show where got associate producer credit. So it was one of those like,
Okay.
now I have this role,
Now
and
I've
now the show,
arrived.
and now the show is gone. Like
How
now it's
long had you
over.
been on
Like,
it?
what's that?
How long had you been on it?
Was in it from the very beginning before it started. So I was in for a season and a half, but
Okay.
I started as a production assistant on one of the teams, and so
How was Queen Latifah to work with?
I mean, she's great. She is great. She's a good person, and like she's very super talented. And so we all were rooting for it to continue. Like
Yeah.
it was a fun show, but when it ended, it felt like a real bummer. It felt like, oh
Yeah.
well, now what?
Like
The
a
only good
loss.
thing, yeah, it was a loss, right? And then that is literally, it became the perfect timing because that's when I got an interview at Kimmel that turned into the Conan opportunity. And so it was
Wait,
sort of like,
how did a Kimmel opportunity turn into Conan?
did I not tell this story on the show?
Uh, I know you were eventually got to Conan, your dream
Yeah.
job, but I didn't know Kimmel was your pathway.
So I went, my friend at the time was Jimmy Kimmel's assistant, my friend Miguel, and I was asking around for, because now Queen Latifah was done. So I was asking around for friends of like, if anyone knows anything.
Yeah,
And there happened to be an opening at Kimmel for an assistant to like, I think it was an assistant to an executive producer or something like that. It was an assistant job. And I was like, oh my God, this would be my like, this would be, it was a step down because I was an associate producer at the time. Now I'm going to an assistant, but it was a transition from daytime TV to late night TV, which is closer to where I wanted to be. So I
yeah.
was willing to take that step
Mhm.
down if needed. So the interview went great. But at the end, the person that was interviewing me said, you're overqualified for this job. And I remember as he said that, I was like, oh no, like this, no, like I'm happy to still do it, but he said, but I know that Conan they're looking for someone over at Conan. Do you want me to
Is that
put
the
in a
first time you heard
yes?
mention of the show that you would wanted to work on since you were a kid?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So
Wow, no, I
this
didn't
is
know that linkage. Okay.
yes, so it was a wild, like I could never have imagined it. I could never have guessed it. I didn't know that I thought in my mind like Kimmel and Conan were competing late night shows. So why would one help the other? It didn't even make sense to
Wow.
me.
So it was
And so
amazing. It was perfect that you were overqualified at Kimmel.
it was perfect that I was overqualified, and it was perfect that Queen Latifah ended. And so all
Uh-huh.
these things that seem like bad news or like bad incidents
Yeah.
happening, like the show and like Queen Latifah ending, or me being overqualified and not being going to be hired at Kimmel, that just sounds on the surface bad. But
Right.
it's all making room for what the universe has in store for us. So if we keep our mind open and positive about what's to come, and that these things might not be because of our failures, but might actually be because we're changing our life in beautiful ways that line ourselves up with what our heart actually wants. Let those things happen. And so like look ahead in that way.
there's so much spaciousness in that as you describe it. It's like,
Hmm.
we step into this expanded awareness when we look at life that way.
Mm.
It's incredible. I mean, that's what I felt. That's what my inner response was as you were talking. Was like, I feel like there's more room. Like it just feels like spacious. I don't know if you identify with that at all.
I love that concept and
Mm,
that visual and the feel of you saying that. That I
mm,
literally just watched a video. Was it today? It may have last night. About someone talking about the importance of becoming more spacious and having at least 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night to be just be spacious and not be go 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 and not be
yeah.
like on your machines or whatever, but literally allow for the space. I love that. I love that so much, and I think that's so true. And
Mhm.
yeah, and when we're in those kind of vibes, magical things we can be receptive to those magical things. By the
Yeah.
way, Yoni says, Dr. Sharon, I want a new car. Would you please borrow mine? So that I assume you can crash it and get her a new car.
That is hilarious. Oh my God. Yeah, let
She'll
me
do
just
that.
truck
Yeah,
right
sure.
on out there.
See, this is manifesting too. Yeah, Yoni is smart. She knows your pattern and she's jumping on board. She wants part of this.
Yes, that's very smart. Smart move, Yoni. I mean, when you think about it, like I could have sold my car or something. It would have never occurred to me to do that. Like it was fine. Everything was fine, but now this is going to be better, I think. We'll see how it all plays out. I'll let you know, Yoni. But
Great.
I did want to say something about, oh yes, this is what I want to say about the spaciousness thing. I noticed as soon as my car came to a stop after I was had been bumped and I was out of control, and then I gained control and I stopped. I felt a spaciousness. I felt really calm
Mm.
and relaxed. And I just,
Even in the moment of the crash.
well, no, that was a big what's happening, but it was over in a few seconds. So as
Yeah,
soon as
yeah,
those few seconds of getting hit and going out of control and then gaining control and coming to a stop, that
yeah,
was all just, I mean, probably less than 10 seconds,
yeah,
okay, in
yeah,
real
yeah.
time. So I'm one of those people that is really good in a crisis. I get calm in
Mm.
a crisis and I just do what needs to get done. So I already knew that about myself.
Mm.
So I immediately was doing the best to right the car and everything. But as soon as I came to a stop, and I'm seeing all these accidents happening behind me, I mean, I felt awful seeing that in my rearview mirror, but I also just felt a calmness and I called 911 right away. I was the first one to call. And she was like, "Do you want me? You don't want me to send an officer, do you?" I'm like, there's like 10 cars that have
Mm.
all that. And so, so I mean, what ended up happening was like three different squad cars, two fire engines, at least one paramedic, tow trucks. I mean, this was the scene on the freeway for like an hour. And I'm just sitting there and I felt really calm. And I was just, waiting for the officer to approach me and all that. And finally went home. And it took me a few days for my head to catch up because I'm like,
Mm.
wow, this is I could have been killed or something. Like this was a major thing that happened, and my head is not caught up to my whole being was calm and felt this spaciousness. Like everything is just fine. Like I
Mm.
just have a feeling of a sense of gratitude about my life and how this turned out. I wasn't looking at it half glass half empty, right? Like,
Yeah,
why did this
yeah.
happen to me? It was more like, thank God it could have been horrendous. And it's just, this is how I look at cars. I mean, it's just a thing. It's just a thing. It can be
Yeah, yeah.
replaced. It's not a big deal in this. And I love my car, but it's just a thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but that calm was immediately there for me. Um, so it come like years ago, actually it was another car thing when I had a car during grad school just die on me and I had no money and I needed another car. And I remember again feeling a calm about it. And it's amazing. Friends stepped in that were also in my school and said, you can borrow our car for a while. And then someone else in grad school who had money She said she was gonna loan me a car, but what she did is she took me to a rental place. She rented a car for me. So
Mm,
these people in my life, filled in the gap until I could get another car. And there was a calmness then too. And I think it comes under for me, and this is a really trite saying, but don't sweat the small stuff. It's
mhm,
like, this is not catastrophic. This is not somebody on the edge of death or a severe illness or being injured. This is a thing.
mhm.
And there's spaciousness around staying calm and centered around those kinds of things because I put them into the category of small stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I know how to
I
problem
love
solve.
that. I love
I
that.
can problem solve that stuff, even if I
Yeah.
don't know immediately how.
Well, this is another one of those life hacks that we're talking about, or these mindset
Yeah,
hacks, or these heart hacks. I don't know what you want to call it, but like I think also this is such a great example. Like you're someone who practices this. You practice being in your heart. You practice being in your heart space. You practice giving yourself spaciousness. That's how you kind of live your life. So when these moments happen, I feel like it's so rare because most people, rightfully so, when an accident like that happens, even if they're okay and they've just like their car's just been hit, they've just been like spun out of control, whatever. It's very like it could be very like anxious feeling. It'd be very like jarring, and like I think a lot of people can slip into, rightfully so, negative headspaces in
yeah.
those moments. But like you being able to like, you're so practiced leading into this that because nothing was physically wrong with you, you were able to, or maybe regardless, you were able to
I
find the
think
comfort
regardless, I have a
regardless. Yeah.
feeling. I don't know. It's weird too because this was just pure reaction. I guess this is the other thing I would say to add to, what are some of the things that really can be transformative is the more we bring this practice into our lives of accepting what is,
Hmm.
it is a practice in every day, in every
Yes.
situation,
Yes.
then it
Yes.
might be that in a situation like this one,
Yeah.
we won't react in a way that doesn't serve us, right?
Right,
Because
right, right.
I don't feel like I had time to consciously choose my response. It was
Mhm.
just how I did end up reacting, which is
Yeah.
in a way that really served me to
Yes.
stay calm and
Yes.
feel that spaciousness around.
Well, this makes me, so I know we're not labeling these all these little like cheat codes and principles we're talking about, but we're kind of just like vibing with it, which I love. But like if I had to put names to things like that, what you just said, I feel like we have the spaciousness one, like find spaciousness in your life. And I think the one that something that you just brought up made me remember one that I like to live by too, which is uh, what are you willing to, what are you willing to give up your good headspace for? Like I know in this case you're talking about it was automatic, but for a lot of people, for a lot of us, and even at certain times of the day, we have the time to choose, and something bad can happen. And like the other day, I have a car story for you. I have a recent one.
Okay.
Um, I was pulling out of a Subway sandwiches place, and I was in the parking lot and I was driving to the road, and as I was heading out to the main road from another parking lot, someone just like pulled right in front of me, and luckily I saw him the entire time, so I was able to break before anything happened. But he didn't even, I watched him the entire time. He didn't even look my way until his car was like 3/4 into the lane and turning. And then he looked at me and just gave me a wave, almost like he may have caught himself like oopsie kind of thing. And it turns out it was fine. But I know certain people, I have friends who in this exact, who I hear on the phone literally like when I'm talking to them sometimes, and they will be going off on how stupid that driver is, how
Yeah,
like reckless that is, what could have been dangerous, it could have got, and true, all of this is true. That could have been an accident. That could have
right.
injured one or both of us. That could have really sucked. Like that, absolutely, all of that is true. However, and I did have that initial like, whoa, man, like what's going on kind of thing.
Yeah,
But literally, as soon as he gave me a wave and like finished his turn, instantly I was back to like, okay, what am I going to do later? Like, what do I want to do with my day? And it's because I've trained my mind and I've trained myself to not give my good headspaces away, not over stupid shit, not over little things, not over like that, because I know it would it's so easy to start getting into that road rage type thing, or that blame of like
Yeah.
how bad people are, how bad drivers are, or whatever. But what happens is when we start thinking about things in that way, you're now in a negative headspace. And what's likely to come out after that? You're now going to start thinking about as you finish driving home, you're going to continue thinking about your day, but now it's through a negative framework. And now you're starting to think in ways where you're doubting yourself, or you're critical of yourself, or you're blaming yourself, or blaming other
Yeah.
people now. I now know the value of good headspaces. They give us good ideas. They give us clarity. They give us insight. They give us bandwidth to deal with that shit. They give us epiphanies. They give us inspiration. They're full of gold. And so I am not willing anymore to just give those away willy-nilly over little things that, like you're talking about, over sweating the small stuff. Like, I'm not willing to do that anymore.
But so
And so
what would you say though to the person who just kind of blows up in the moment over the little stuff? Like, it's a great concept, don't let that occupy the headspace. But what would you say about the process of how to actually put that into practice in your life? Like, how to do it? Any tips?
oh man,
Like,
it's
how did you cultivate it?
I think I did it by really letting it sink into my soul that it's logically beneficial to me. It's to my actual like evidence-based proof that it's good for me for all these reasons
So
I
desire,
remind
you had a strong desire because you believed it was going to help you.
strong desire, but also like just looking at things in a very common sense way. Like, I know that when I feel good and I'm in a good headspace, I think better. I know I operate better. I know I speak better. I know I communicate more easily. I know my energy is better. So I interact with people in more like in ways that end up having conversations and relationships be stronger than otherwise. And so
Okay, but some people would agree with you completely, but they go from 0 to 60 in 1 second, right? And they walk around pissed off at a lot of little stuff, right? Like
sure,
how do you
yeah,
get how do you build spaciousness into those moments, right? Where it's a nanosecond
yeah.
of moving into this non-reactive place, or going off and getting, letting it get the better of you. Like,
Yeah, I think this is where the practice comes in, because I
yeah,
think the more you practice doing this, the more you realize, oh, this feels so much better. Oh, this results in my day being so much better, me being more productive, or me being more in flow most of the day.
right.
Like, you see enough doing this enough, and you seeing the benefits day to day of you being in good headspaces as often as possible, you start to like treasure them. You start to be like, well, I don't want to just lose this over something silly. Why would I want to? It's a very conscious living kind of practice. It's very like,
Yeah.
I know because every day I experience when I'm in good headspaces, I keep getting good ideas about my business, about my writing, about my friendships, about the things that I'm interacting with or dealing with on my day-to-day stuff. Like, I just operate better when I'm in good headspaces. And because I know that consciously to a deep level that I repeat, and this is something I repeat to myself every day, probably because I write about it and talk about it every day. But like, because of that, when these things happen, even though there might be an instant moment of like, damn, like, whoa, like, what is that? Or it might be like a second, but then after that sort of like happens, I click back into my base. Basically, I establish a baseline up here, and it's really hard to get me out of it. Some things can throw
Mhm.
me. I still get thrown by things, but they have to be really big in order to really knock me off of my knowing
Yeah.
that my headspaces are not worth losing. My good headspaces are not
Yeah.
worth losing. By the
Okay.
way,
So, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I just noticed that it says, Chris Newth, I will gladly borrow your card, Yoni. But then I was like, wait a minute, did someone hack my account? I assume you texted that
I did.
too. Okay. It just went in my name because it's on YouTube that you're responding. But
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, I'll borrow it too.
That's
Like, I
that's so
crash.
funny.
I crash sometimes. I've had multiple accidents. I can do this. I believe
Okay.
in me. I believe in me.
Yes, I believe in you too, Chris. So I just wanted to encapsulate some of the things you talked about, that to break it down for people, that here is that process of how
Mm,
do you get to respond with this in this spacious way and not let
Mm,
your, not let your headspace be occupied with stuff you don't want it to.
yeah.
And so you named a few things. One is observing what really worked well for you,
Mm,
which is that you think better. All these things unfold in a really positive way when you're not coming from that reactive place. Another one is putting it front and center, making it a focus in your life, a daily
mm,
practice, and that
mhm.
allows a new habit to form. I mean,
Hmm.
anytime we put attention on something and intention, we have an intention to show up in the best possible way in some shift we want to make, and we make it a priority, and then it's a daily practice. Now what's happening is we're actually forming a new habit. And I think that's probably why I didn't react when the car hit me,
Mhm,
because it was my habit. Like just like you said, it was become your habit.
mhm.
It's become our habit to not react in a way that doesn't serve us. I mean, we all have our
Right.
triggers and things that, pull us out of that. But in
Mhm.
these instances we're talking about, these are the kind of the steps, if I could lay some of them out, that
Please, yeah.
add up to not reacting in the moment.
God, when you say that, I love you breaking this down because sometimes we're not like even I'm not thinking about it like that. But you're so right. That's it. And when you said that, I just had whenever I have this like I've realized when something really hits me or resonates with me, I just naturally sigh. I take a deep breath and sigh. Oh,
Uh,
and I definitely got that when you were talking.
yeah,
It's just
okay.
so resonant. It's so
I love
yes.
that. Yeah, it's like it's all the confirmation any of us needs, right? Is when we
Yeah.
get that inner yes about something, that resonance, that's our truth. And if we
Yes.
simply follow that, right, everything unfolds in a way that
Yes.
serves us, and by extension, everyone around us. Really,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
And we can change it because Yoni says behaving slash reacting in ways that's familiar to them, which is true. Yes. What's familiar
That's
is what we
right.
tend to do. However, we can change it. And that's the beauty. If you don't like
We can
what you
change it if it's
normally
not
do,
serving us. Yeah,
changing it if it's not serving you.
yeah,
Yeah. If you're reacting in certain
yeah,
ways that are not helpful to you and not serving you and not in line with your heart, then it's worth changing. And that's possible with the practice that Sharon was just mentioning, like actively engaging each day with an awareness and a consciousness that I want to remind myself of certain things. I want to
yeah,
practice positive self talk. I want to follow my heart. I want to do what makes me happy. I want to find good headspaces and float in them as often as possible because I know it benefits me in my life and it benefits the other people that I interact with. And it makes my life just feel nicer and easier and happier. And so that's important to me. And if it's important to you and you prioritize it, then you can find new patterns and you'll respond to things in different ways that are more in line with who you actually are.
yeah. And I would also say, I don't know about you, Chris, but I feel very held in this time of year. Spring, it's a time of renewal, letting
Hmm,
go of old things, and renewal and bringing in new things. And it's celebrated in many different ways in different traditions, right?
hmm,
It's like in the pagan tradition, it's May Day and dancing around the maypole. And there's Passover and Passover Seder, and there's Easter. There are all these different rites and rituals around this time of year. And I feel like, in a way, all of this, like this car accident, everything fits into that, because I've had all these other events going on in my life at the same time, swirling around. That is the endings of some things, the end of
hmm,
that car,
mm-hmm,
and the beginnings of new. It's almost like it's making way for new
mm-hmm,
things.
mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm,
I love being held in that. It's we're in, whether we recognize it or not, we're in concert with nature because we are part of the natural world. And
mm,
so it's a nice reference point, I find, to
mm.
look
And you
at.
brought us full circle with
Yeah,
the, that with that whole idea of like making way for new things
making
to
way.
come into our lives. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me give a few more like quick ones at the end, quickies for
Please.
before we wrap up. One of my biggest ones that have meaning like life hacks or mindset hacks, whatever, cheat codes that have really changed my life. One we've kind of covered a little bit, but I really want to emphasize it, which is headspace over everything. Like really focus on where are you right now? Where is your head right now? And if it's not good, like that's okay, but just know that. Like just know, where are you feeling angry? Are you in an angry headspace? Are you feeling peaceful? Are you in a peaceful one? That very much matters in terms of what you should do in the moment with your choices that you have available. So just keeping that in mind, like what is my headspace in this moment? And if it's good, then continue on to like follow that whatever that your intuition guides you to in those moments. And if it's not, if you're off, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling bad, remember that headspace is not what you want to be operating from. So stop, don't make choices or try to figure things out. Just kind of take a breather, take a break, go easy on yourself and find distraction or find some way to get yourself into a heart space where you can connect with yourself again. So that's sort of like the main one I try to follow as often as possible.
Can I add something to it?
Please, yeah.
I like that so much because everything emanates from the mind, right? And so when we're aware of our state of mind, it's can be incredibly essential. And
Mhm,
then to connect the mind with the heart and the gut,
mhm,
all
mhm.
three in alignment. I don't know, have you ever studied a martial art? Because I learned that in martial arts.
I did karate for like, I don't know, a couple months when I was a
That's
kid.
right. I think we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they teach that in karate? Because
I
they
don't
teach that
know
in
ex
Aikido, which is you can't practice this martial art successfully unless you have head, heart, and gut all connected with each
mm,
other because they all have a voice within us and they need to be working in concert with each other.
I
And if
love
you're
that.
like me, I was just taught that all there is up here.
Mm.
And so often I wasn't tuned in to the other places within. And so it's a beautiful practice to not only know
Align yourself.
align your yes, I love that word alignment. Yes, be in
Yes.
alignment,
Yes,
head,
be in
heart, and gut
alignment.
in an
Yes.
expansive, open,
Yes.
loving, compassionate way toward ourselves
Yes.
and others. Yeah,
Yes. Like we have zones and we can't just focus on one and then that's it. It's like
right.
we have different parts and how can we get them to work to cooperate with each other, to be in sync with each other. And then that just makes life so much, I don't know, better, easier. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for adding that.
Sure. Okay, what's
Another
next?
Okay, what's next? Follow the fun. You want a life cheat code? Follow the fun. It will follow your interests, follow what's exciting to you, follow what you're passionate about, follow those fun, intuitive, inner like bursts of like when you think of an idea and you're like, God, that sounds so fun. We so often talk ourselves out of that or don't let ourselves pursue it, but it leads to real magic when we do. And so let that be a guiding light. And also, fun is it's like a driving force. It's like you want some internal fire, you want some inspiration, you want energy to do stuff that you like in your life. Follow the fun more often and let that be that like inner drive for you.
For sure. I love that one. Do you happen to know your Enneagram type? Have we talked about this?
Ooh, I don't know. We might have. I don't know. I think I'm a 9, but I don't know.
Okay, okay. Well, because on the Enneagram, I'm a 7, which we're all about fun sevens. So
Mm,
this is already ingrained in me as kind of a pleasure seeker. But so this is why I guess I want to say this, that it holds a much deeper meaning in the way you're describing it,
mm,
which is that it's our inner resonance. When we're jumping up and down on the inside, that to follow that is an essential truth within us. It's our core
mhm,
essence registering,
mm,
yes, this is a yes or this is a no, you know.
mhm,
So that fun, that sense of wonder and play, and this is has a deeper meaning than simply being a hedonist, you know, and
mhm,
chasing after pleasure in the sensual world. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is really a guidepost
mhm.
to our inner knowing, to the wisest part of ourselves when we pay attention to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for those of you out there who might be deniers of fun, like I only get to do that when I've done all the hard stuff.
Mhm,
I want to say everything gets to feel that way.
mm,
Everything.
mhm,
Work gets to feel that way. Not at work gets to feel that way. Everything gets
mhm.
to feel the same way you feel as I would liken it. I don't know about you, Chris, to being a child at play,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that sense of fun, you know?
Mhm, mhm. Oh, I love that. Yeah, and I would say for anyone who says that, like, how's that working for you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it really
And
working
they
for
might
you?
say that about us, right? But
I
I think
know, but
I think
I
this is
mean,
a fallacy. It works really well.
yeah, it
I find, don't
absolutely.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because look, when I follow the fun, I don't worry about like, am I going to have the energy to do what I want to do? I actually do have that. And when I follow the fun, I know that I'm in good headspace. And this is the other thing. Like following the fun and doing what's fun to you means you're entering that thing with a positive headspace. And so you get all of your superpowers. You have access to all of your best thinking and your best talking and your best energy and the best way that you're going to like impress or like influence people. So you have access to all of your superpowers when you follow your fun and you're in that vibe because like you're saying, Sharon, it's like our soul, I really do feel like our spirit talks to us through our emotions and through those good feelings, the joy, the fun, excitement, passion, bliss. Like those are like us as us. I kind of see it as like I was doing a coaching call the other day and I kind of described it in this cool way that I want to see if I can recreate here. But like when we are up, our energy is really up here, like this is who we are. And so when we're feeling fun, passion, excitement, joy, bliss, that we're like in sync with ourselves, we're vibing on that wavelength up here. When we're on lower wavelengths, they're sadness and anger and fear and insecurity, whatever, those are lower vibes. And so we bump against those. That's because it's not us. So our energy it's not supposed to, there's a resistance there because that's us bumping up against a wall that actually of energy that is in us. But when we're aligned with our energy, the energy of who we are, everything just feels like naturally where it's supposed to be. Everything just feels like you're sitting in a car after just having an accident, but literally being in utter peace because everything's
Yeah,
okay and
everything's
you are
okay.
in touch with yourself and your heart and the universe at large.
Well, I just find so much power in what you're saying, Chris. And if I could distill it, it could be a bumper sticker, which
Mm,
is something like we can refine the wording. When you follow the fun,
mm,
you access all of your superpowers. Isn't that
mhm,
something like
mhm.
what you said?
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so powerful.
Mhm.
When you follow fun, you access all of your superpowers. I
And
mean,
when you
this is so powerful.
so powerful because think about it, when you're on the fence about like, oh, should I do this fun thing or should I do the work that I need to do or the thing that I need to do or the chores whatever, when you have that choice, if you're repeating that mantra or that idea to yourself, you're then more likely to follow the fun because you know you want to be in touch with your superpowers, you want to have access to all of your strengths and powers. And so use that as a tool, a mantra, however, a reminder to yourself whenever that's in question or whenever you're like, I don't know, should I really let myself follow that passion that I have? Or should I really do that thing that really feels exciting to me right now? Yeah, I should, because it'll allow me to access all of who I am, including all of my best features, all of my best thinking, all of my best interpretations, all of my best how I present to the world, everything, literally everything. So use that as like, I think that's a great place to end on too.
And I think so too. A beautiful ending. Yeah.
Cool.
Or
Oh,
way to sort of punctuate how we
mhm,
can go forth and move in the world or continue to move in the world. If you're already moving that way, keep
mhm.
it going because it's its own reward, really. It just
Yes.
feels so good
Yes.
to be held in that. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. And if you're not doing that, just try it out. What can it hurt? Like
It's a
literally,
no risk
it's a
proposition. There's
absolutely.
no downside.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
What can
Right.
happen if you have too much fun?
Hmm. Nothing bad. Oh
I
God, yeah.
mean, I guess, people might define fun in different ways than we're talking about.
Heart-centered fun. What
Yeah.
feels good to your
Something
heart?
that
Like
really feeds your soul, your
soul, a
heart.
heart and soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Chris.
Oh,
Thank you for
okay.
another, I don't know, inspiring conversation. I feel very
I
inspired.
know.
And for the people who are watching, big shouts out to you. So great to have you here.
Yes.
Truly. Yeah.
Thank you, Yoni, for contributing and being part of our
Yes.
conversation. It felt like you were here. You were here. You were adding to our stories and adding jokes, and it
And
was
has
really,
been
really.
coming too.
And
So
what?
thank you, and has been attending
Oh, and
the
has been. Yes. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
really nice, really
Thank you
nice.
for, but thank you for writing to us today. That was very, very fun
Mhm.
to have you on the show.
Super fun.
And
Yeah.
please, everyone, tune in next week. We're going to be back. Sharon, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at SharonHoffmanLiving.com. All the information is there. I do live speaking events in person and virtually. And I'm on Clubhouse. I host a talk show twice a week. You can get the information and the link to join there. You can also sign up for my free audio gift, which is a 10-minute guided visualization to dropping you into your wisdom.
Which is what we were talking about today. So
Yes.
yes, definitely
Oh, and
check.
also, I also offer private one-on-one coaching for anybody who wants some private attention to tuning in to their wisest voice.
Awesome. And
So
then you
thank
could,
you, Chris. And where can people find you, Chris?
oh, I'm glad you asked, Sharon. My website is chrisnewt.com. You can find my EQ newsletter there. It's full of cheat codes like we talked about a few today. Headspace over everything, follow the fun. We talked like things, it's stuff like that, but you get it each day in your inbox. And it just teaches you how to understand your emotions, what they are, what they mean, what to do with them, so that you can change anything that you want in your life and help you transform in all the cool ways that you want to, in very logical, intuitive, common sense ways. It's not hard. You can do this as a self practice, but I also on my website offer coaching if anyone wants more personal guidance. Sometimes it's hard to do a self practice for people, or you just don't prefer it. You want to work with somebody in person. That's what it's there for. So check it out. My website, chrisnewt.com, has all the information. Sharon, this was wonderful. Thank you
It
for
sure
being here.
was.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, likewise, Chris. It's always such a pleasure. I love getting to hang out with you. This is
Oh,
how it
me
feels to me. Like
too.
we
Me
just get to
too.
hang out together and talk about things that
Yes.
really matter to us. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And like, it's kind of cool that you go, like, we come back and we have these stories that of like real life stories about how we're implying these things and how what we're experiencing because we practice what we're talking about on this show. It's like, it's not just theory, it's really like this stuff actually does make you more peaceful, more calm, more in touch with yourself, more
Right.
intuitive, more creative, more heart centered. And so it really,
More
and
fully who you are,
be
more
fully who you,
authentic in the
yes.
world. And doesn't that
Yes.
feel ultimately that's the best feeling in the
It's
world?
empowering. It really is.
It is.
So, yes. So, thanks for being here. Thank you everyone for watching. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, we're on every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Hmm.
So
So
please,
catch us then.
please catch us then.
All right.
Until next
Until
time.
next time, guys.